I'm Jeff Bartlett, and this is the review of the 2026 Toyota BZ Woodland. The BZ Woodland is the latest entry in Toyota's SUV lineup. It joins the CHR and the BZ. Think of these three as small, medium, and large electric SUVs, with the electric Highlander being the extra large model. Now, the name warrants some decoding. BZ means Beyond Zero in Toyota parlance. The Woodland, well, that comes from a trim designation that we've seen on other models like the RAV4 and Sienna, denoting a more outdoorsy equipped vehicle. You combine those terms and what you get is an SUV developed alongside the Subaru Trailseeker, both with some mild off-road potential, but really it's more about looks than function. Now, the model names are real similar between the BZ and the BZ Woodland. The main difference is the Woodland is about 6 inches longer, and really where that benefits is in the cargo area. Beyond the added space in the back, the Woodland is a little bit more powerful and it has a few more extra creature comforts. The Woodland employs Toyota's upgraded onboard charging hardware to shorten the charge times, and it comes equipped with a Tesla-compatible North American Charging Standard, or NACS, charge port. There are only two versions offered, the base and the premium. We expect most people are going to buy the base, so that's what we bought for testing. The base has a solid array of commonly sought features. It comes standard with a heated steering wheel, heated front and rear seats, dual wireless phone chargers, an auto-dimming rearview mirror with HomeLink, and a 120-volt outlet in the cargo area. Like all vehicles we test, this was bought anonymously at a dealership. Now, we purchase cars just like you do. That guarantees that what we're testing is not specially prepared by a manufacturer, and it also means that we get a lot of hands-on car buying experience. So when we give advice, it's not based on theory, it's based on what we've experienced. We bought a 2026 Toyota BZ Woodland base. Final assembly point was in Gunma, Japan. The base price was $45,300. The options added up to $1,783. We had no extras, but we couldn't escape the destination fee, which added $1,595. The total purchase price was $48,678. Now, when we buy cars, we usually buy them as soon as they come to market. That means we often don't have much choice in color. Here, we ended up with what's kind of a Darth Vader black vehicle. It's black on black on black. What this misses is normally in any other color, the BZ Woodland has a very dramatic exterior because of all the contrasting black plastic trim. It's got these large surrounds over the wheel arches, much like some Subaru models. There's even plastic here on the hood, which is an interesting choice. All this seems to promise Subaru Outback wilderness levels of off-road capability. But what it really does to me is it reminds of the partnership between Toyota and Subaru in developing several electric SUVs. Also reminds you probably want to pick up a little black plastic trim restorer just in case that fades over time. Around back here, you see the Woodland benefits from a more upright shape to its rear hatch compared to the BZ. That's going to help with space inside the cargo area. Another thing that's nice is it has a wiper on the back. Overall, the BZ Woodland looks a lot like the Subaru Trailseeker. They are differentiated by the lights and the fascia on the front, as well as on the tail lamps, which give it a very Toyota look. Now, I love that this has simple, conventional door handles. And it's odd that that has to be said these days. Now, the seat is a little high. That's because there's a battery under the floor. The downside is it means some drivers, including myself, have to really duck to get in. Now, once inside, the driver's compartment is a little narrow. That's because of the wide center console. There's also a space concern when you adjust the steering wheel for some drivers. When it comes down low, it can be very tight against your thighs, whereas if it's up, it may be blocking the view of the instrument panel that's at the base of the windshield. The steering wheel is only 14 inches in diameter. 15 is more typical in an SUV. Being a little small, that does give you a hint of extra space, but more importantly, it's round. That's become a novelty these days. Now, underneath the console is a pass-through storage space, but that is gobbled up by this giant owner's manual. And you might think, well, just toss it in the glove box. Well, for one, it's huge. The other, there is no glove box. The black interior in our car looks a little drab. There are a lot of lines, especially horizontal lines, that are the seams between panels. There are some soft surfaces, but they're a little limited. There's this nice textured piece here on the dash. A lot of smooth plastic that comes around. At least most of it is not shiny piano black, but unfortunately there is some of that around the center screen. And the concern there is as you drive, the reflections change, from trees or the changing of light. It gets a bit distracting. It draws your attention. Now, looking a little closer at the finished details, we do find there's some rough surfaces in the door pockets and also in the center armrest console. But to its credit, it has a neat trick. It hinges open in 2 directions. That's helpful for both the driver and passenger, but it is a little far back to reach and kind of fiddle around to pull anything out of it. The front seats have some nice bolsters, both along the thigh and along the torso. And the cushioning has a softness to it that makes them fairly comfortable. Overall, the interior is fairly easy to live with, but there are a couple quirks. For example, the window switches are a bit of a stretch to reach. The dual phone charging mats, very convenient, great to keep your devices charged, but unfortunately it comes at the expense of having some storage. There's really just a couple cup holders here, and nowhere else to put, your little travel sundries. The infotainment system looks rather slick. It even has these neat dials with screens within them that show you the temperature. But it doesn't have the latest generation Toyota infotainment system. Consequently, it lacks some functionality, like having a home button. And many climate-related functions are handled via the touchscreen. Plus, our drivers reported issues pairing both Apple and Android phones. That's something, if you're buying, you might want to try. The physical controls that it does have are all pretty straightforward and easy to use. It's got traditional stocks, for instance. Steering wheel not only has a lot of controls on it that allow you to navigate through the system, make adjustments to the various driver assist systems, but most notably, they're physical controls and they're clearly delineated. A lot of steering wheels these days, the controls are kind of combined in a way that's hard to tell them apart when you're driving. But this, you can actually feel the difference. So that makes it pretty straightforward to use while you're driving. One other control that our test drivers have mixed feelings about is this gear selector. We kind of call it a pig snout. You grab this thing, you got to push it down and then rotate it to make your gear selection. You can adjust to it, but it is a little odd the first few times. Now, under the infotainment screen, it does have physical controls for the volume. It's got a simple dial. Love that. It's always easy to reach and turn that. And it's got buttons for defrost, both for the front and for the back and the mirrors. Far better to have a physical button to go for rather than trying to navigate through a menu. Like other Toyota EVs, this has a digital instrument panel that's positioned far away from the driver toward the base of the windshield. It's interesting, but it does look like an aftermarket device that someone parked on top of the dash, rather than being integrated into the overall design. It's fairly straightforward, easy to interpret. The main concern with it is watching how you set up the steering wheel, because some drivers found the position of the wheel, as well as how they had the seat adjusted, meant that they were blocking the view of part of it. Just be mindful how you set it up when you take it for a test drive. Interesting idea, not necessarily my favorite. Just as with the front, getting in the back seat has a little bit of a challenge to it too. It starts with the door doesn't open that wide. Now you do need to duck a bit, but importantly, there's a large footpath that makes it easy for you to swing your legs in. Now, once inside, you find headroom's a bit limited, and it's important to note because this model doesn't have the optional panoramic roof, which may trim down that headspace. As you can see, sitting behind myself, I got a ton of space in front of my knees. My feet are well planted. However, there isn't space really under the seats to tuck them, so it may fit you differently. Even this base version has some amenities for the backseat passengers. There's controls for the heated seats, which is nice to have, vents to help keep them cool or warm, and a couple ports to plug in their devices for charging. The seats themselves are mildly bolstered and fairly comfortable. In between the outboard seats is, of course, the fold-down armrest, which is a pretty common feature. So you got 2 cup holders and a little extra storage here, which has me a bit jealous of that, because I sure like a little extra storage just like that up front. So the back seat is pretty similar to the smaller BZ. Where these two vehicles really differ is in the cargo area. So even this base model has the convenient swing your leg to open trick. Isn't that impressive? Even this base version has a powered lift gate, which you can activate by swinging your leg over by the sensor. This opens up into a pretty roomy cargo area. Now again, this is one of the advantages of choosing this over one of the smaller Toyota EVs. The seats, they spring forward when you release them. There are a couple interesting things under the cargo floor too. They have convenient storage here for the retractable cargo cover, which means you don't have to leave this in the corner of your garage where it's certain to be forgotten. Now, if you dig a little deeper, you see there is no spare tire, but there is a tire inflation kit. And overall, there's a little bit of space in here. You could tuck a small emergency kit or whatever it is you need to have with you on the road. Now, if you are using this for tailgating or going camping, it is handy to have an outlet in the back here for plugging various devices in. And also, it's got a full-size receiver hitch in case you want to put a bike rack on or pull a very modest trailer. So the BZ may look a bit like an off-roader and even have some elements that are conducive to camping and adventures. But where this vehicle really shines is on the road. So let's head out on the track and I'll show you what I mean. The BZ Woodland has 375 horsepower. That's more than most Toyotas. And frankly, that's more than many vehicles. And what this does is it gives it tremendous acceleration. In fact, Toyota estimates that 0 to 60 is 4.4 seconds. That's quicker than most SUVs. This part of the driving experience is the most entertaining part of this vehicle. And it's probably one that most shoppers don't even realize. The EPA estimated range for this is 281 miles. That's on the all-season tires that our test vehicle came with. If you get the optional all-terrain tires, that lowers to 261 miles. We've been observing more in the 250 range, but of course part of that is because it's so much fun to accelerate. Some of our drivers lament that the BZ Woodland doesn't support one-pedal driving. That's a convenient function on EVs that allows you to modulate accelerating and braking simply with your right foot on the throttle. Instead, you have one pedal for go and one for whoa. On paper, the public charging specs are not impressive, but it does have an 11 kilowatt hour onboard charger. That's what you're going to use when you're charging at home or at 240 volt stations in public. It does come fitted with a North American charging standard port, so that allows you to hook up to a Tesla supercharger. But it also means that many other chargers, you're going to have to use an adapter. The important thing with the adapter is make sure you take it with you when you leave the charging station. The BZ Woodland handles very much like the other Toyota and Subaru vehicles that share a common platform. Notably, the steering is quick, has a light and natural feel to it. It's a very easy, comfortable vehicle to drive in that regard. And there is some helpful feedback that makes its way through the steering wheel. Body roll is well controlled when the vehicle's pushed, such as taking an exit ramp or driving around here at our test track. The ride is composed on most surfaces, though we did find some rough roads around our track could create a jittery feel at times. Overall, the ride might be a little bit better than the other Toyota EVs we've recently driven, aided by the slightly additional curb weight of the BZ Woodland. The BZ Woodland comes with Toyota Safety Sense 3.0, but it's essentially a generation behind because Toyota Safety Sense 4.0 was introduced on the RAV4 that went on sale before this model. So that TSS 3.0 includes automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, lane keeping assistance, adaptive cruise control, standard blind spot warning, rear cross traffic warning, safe exit assist system, and automatic high beams. It also has a driver distraction monitoring system. It is fairly aggressive in terms of it will be reminding you if you're looking away to either fiddle with the screen or perhaps engaged in a conversation with your passenger. Essentially, this is keeping your focus where it needs to be. The Woodland name is a bit of a distraction. It evokes images of driving up a muddy road to a log cabin to escape civilization. But really, that's not what this vehicle is about. This EV really shines on the road, where the comfortable seats, the mannered ride, and rapid acceleration all combine to make a pretty pleasant driving experience. The CHR and BZ are quite similar to this, but the BZ Woodland has the added advantage of the extra cargo space, and that may be reason alone for many people to consider this over the other options. So overall, The BZ Woodland is pretty nice to drive. There are a couple quirks and a couple limitations as we pointed out in this video. If you're thinking of buying one, check those things out in particular and see if they matter to you. For more information on electric vehicles, go to consumerreports.org.